So we're back with another Pokemon recap, and this time we're diving into the Pokemon Orange Island's adventures. After a disappointing run in the Indigo Plateau, check out our coverage of Season 1 if you haven't already, our hero Ash, with his trusted pal Pikachu, is back in action. Alongside him is our redhead girl Misty, the ever-charming Brock, and an interesting new member that we'll meet very soon. And how can we forget the Team Rocket trio, Jessie, James, and Meowth, who are back at it again with some crazy shenanigans. What started as a one-way trip ended up being a full-blown adventure, with our hero facing off against new Pokemon, taking on unique gym challenges, and making new friends along the way. Now, with the intro out of the way, let's dive right into Episode 1 of Season 2, starting with Pallet Party Panic. So Ash is back in town after competing in the Indigo Plateau League, and to celebrate his performance, Professor Oak throws a party. Despite his loss in the league, Ash is feeling pretty grateful, and makes sure that Pikachu and the other Pokemon get in on the festivities too.
Thank you too, Pikachu!
Meanwhile, the troublemakers Jessie, James, and Meowth, who've disguised themselves as cooks, hand Ash some food so spicy that even Squirtle starts breathing fire. In the heat of the chaos, get it? Team Rocket snatch Pikachu and reveal themselves in their usual fashion. As they escape, Ash tries to stop them with the help of Pidgeotto, but fails as the Rocket trio use another balloon while Pidgeotto gets hit by a poison sting. So with no other option, Ash decides to call Charizard. But as always, Charizard's more invested in food than Ash's words. However, the Fire Lizard sets his sights on Team Rocket when they blow up the food table. The kidnapping plan is foiled, and Pikachu is rescued. Ash brings Pidgeotto to Professor Oak, who gives the gang a new task: deliver a mysterious Pokeball to Professor Ivy on Valencia Island. The gang leave Pallet Town and enter into a forest dominated by the Fearow, and Ash immediately remembers this is the same Fearow that he threw a rock at the start of his journey back in Season 1. Fearow seems to have taken that disrespect to heart, and is back for his revenge. Ash orders Pikachu to use Thunder Shock, and the duo fall onto a tree where they meet Team Rocket. The Rocket trio tell him about how the Spearow is terrorizing the Pidgey and Pidgeotto, and they can't leave until it's gone.
We're stuck because that Fearow and those Spearow don't get along with these Pidgey and Pidgeotto.
Ash decides to take matters into his own hands by sending the Rocket trio tumbling and asks Pidgeotto to guide the others to safety. Right then, the Fearow arrives and starts attacking Ash's Pidgeotto, which evolves into a Pidgeot. Along with Ash and Pikachu, Pidgeot takes down the Fearow, and Ash even tries to catch it, but Fearow is all like, no, as it flies away. After seeing how dangerous it is for Pidgey and Pidgeotto to survive on their own, Ash decides to leave Pidgeot behind to take care of them. He promises to return after delivering Oak's Pokeball, as our hero heads off on his new adventure while Team Rocket's being chased by angry Spearows in the background. Alright, the next episode, A Scare in the Air, kicks off with our gang on their way to Valencia Island. As Brock daydreams of meeting up with the girls, he reads that there's a blimp that can get them there in a day.
The guidebook says if you go by blimp, it takes less than a day.
However, since they don't have any money, all they can do is walk. But luckily, they spot two guys holding a lottery and find that the grand prize is a blimp ride to Valencia Island. I mean, that's cool, but isn't the lottery supposed to be like millions of dollars or something? Oh well. And guess what? Our boy actually wins the grand prize. Talk about a lucky hand. The scene then shifts to the Rocket trio, who are on a call with none other than the top dog of Team Rocket, Giovanni, who briefs them about their top secret mission.
The three of you are being transferred to Team Rocket's dirigible division.
The Blimp Brigade?
Meanwhile, Ash and the gang finally spot the blimp, which is pretty battered. Not the kind that you want to fly on. Despite that, Team Rocket push Ash and the rest into the blimp, telling them there's nothing to worry about. As they board it, Jigglypuff shows up and hops onto a lever, causing the blimp to take off. The gang enter the blimp, only to find that they were duped about their first-class treatment. And to make matters worse, Ash literally falls through the floor. Suddenly, the blimp starts to dip and wobble around. So James and Jessie, who are completely clueless about it, turn to Meowth, who admits that no one's flying the blimp. They scramble to figure out with a storm approaching right in the corner. Misty realizes that Togepi's missing, and the gang starts looking for it. Meanwhile, Jigglypuff tangles herself in a tablecloth, which Ash and his friends mistake for a ghost. Now, at this point, Ash is ready to completely ditch the blimp, and honestly, I can't blame him. This whole trip has been insane, but Brock tells him that they're way too high to fall, while Misty refuses to leave without Togepi. Right then, James, Jessie, and Mouth swoop in and send Arbok and Weezing to get their hands on Pikachu. However, our electric mouse shocks them, all while Geodude tosses Weezing out of the blimp. Misty finally spots Togepi on an iron beam and rescues it with the help of Bulbasaur. As for Team Rocket, they fall out from the blimp as Jigglypuff's song puts them to sleep.
Going night-night.
Now, with the blimp rapidly losing gas, Brock crash lands onto Valencia Island. Well, at least they made it, right? Episode 3, Pokeball Peril, starts off with Ash and the gang finally landing on Valencia Island as they look for Professor Ivy's lab to pick the mysterious GS ball. After reaching Ivy's lab, they're greeted by her 3 assistants, Hope, Charity, and Faith, who take them to Ivy. Now, back in the lab, she shows them the GS ball and explains that they weren't able to open it despite many tries.
We've tried buzzsaws, hammers, crowbars, hacksaws.
Ash calls Professor Oak to let him know that they made it to the island, and also show him the mysterious Pokeball. Elsewhere, things are not going well for Team Rocket, as they find themselves with a broken blimp, but their motivation to capture Pikachu at all costs gets them back in action. Later, Ivy shows off some Pokemon around the lab, explaining that the island's climate affects Pokemon's colors, making them quite unique from the rest. Right then, they spot a Butterfree, who refuses to eat,
That little Butterfree hasn't eaten a thing in days.
which saddens Professor Ivy. Seeing this, Brock steps in and improvises the food, making it delicious, as the Butterfree starts munching on it. Ivy's impressed and embarrassed that Brock knows more about Pokemon than she does. They return to the house and find it in complete disarray. So Brock steps in and activates his cleaning mode as he starts organizing and even cooks a delicious meal. Man, Brock is crushing it in this episode. The next day, Ash and Misty get ready to leave, only to find that Brock has decided to actually stay with Ivy.
It seems Brock has decided to stay with us.
Ash and Brock give a bro handshake and bid adieu, hoping to meet soon. On their way back, Ash and Misty find the same blimp in perfect condition and are reluctantly forced by the Rocket Trio to board it. Once inside, James, Jesse, and Meowth lock them in a cage and can't resist teasing Ash and Misty, accusing them of being in love. Ash orders Pikachu to attack, but they warn him that an electric attack could blow up the entire blimp. Right then, Jigglypuff appears out of nowhere and starts singing as the Rocket Trio abandon the blimp. Ash and Misty are still trapped inside of it, as the episode ends in a cliffhanger. The next episode, The Lost Lapras, continues with where we left as Ash and Misty finally wake up to find themselves on a deserted island, which turns out to be a Pokemon park. They explore the town and spot a group of thugs bullying a baby Lapras. Ash jumps into action only to be stopped by Tracy, a Pokemon watcher who examines each Pokemon and even tries to measure Pikachu's electric output.
I just want to make a quick sketch. It looks like your Pikachu's electric sacs are in super shape.
After realizing that they're being ignored, the thugs are pissed and launch their attack. However, Pikachu's Thundershock is just enough to send them back in their bags. They take Lapras to Nurse Joy, who explains that Lapras isn't a big fan of having humans around, and Tracy chimes in saying that the Lapras is an infant who got separated from its pod during the recent storm.
Big schools of Lapras pass by the island this time every year. This one must have gotten separated from its group.
Meanwhile, Team Rocket have set their eyes on their new target. They want to capture that Lapras. Right then, a group of trainers arrive at the Pokemon Center and mention the Orange Crew. Ash asks Tracy what they're talking about, and she explains that they're the gym leaders of the Orange Archipelago, and beating them will earn him a place in the Orange League Championship. Ash is thrilled, and contacts Professor Oak to ask for permission, to which Oak agrees. Tracy reveals that he's a huge fan of Oak, and decides to join Ash and Misty on their journey. Later, Ash tries to talk with Lapras, asking it to trust them, which doesn't seem to work out very well, so he dives into the water to prove himself, only for Team Rocket to swoop in and steal the Lapras. They use Wheezing's Smog as cover and escape with Lapras, which leaves Ash chasing them on a bike. He manages to catch up with them, and Pikachu delivers an electric shock, which causes James to panic, and Team Rocket blasts off again. Meanwhile, Ash manages to hold on to Lapras as the cart falls over the cliff. Misty and Tracy start looking for our hero, who shows up riding on Lapras' back, who has clearly begun to trust him. The episode ends with Ash promising to Nurse Joy that he'll take good care of Lapras,
I'm sure you'll treat it very well. Don't worry, we will.
as he, along with Misty and Tracy, set off on Lapras, with Ash eagerly waiting for his challenge in the Orange Archipelago. Alright, next episode, Fit to be Tied. We see Ash, Misty, and Tracy riding on Lapras to Myken Island to battle the first gym leader of the Orange Crew. They finally arrive and Ash spots a coconut, which he can't stop himself from taking. However, it turns out to be a trap set by this kid, who happens to be the brother of the gym leader, Sissy. She introduces herself and surprises Ash, saying that this is not going to be a traditional battle,
Pick the Pokemon that can knock over the most cans with its water gun.
and brings out the first challenge, the water gun accuracy. She explains that the first to hit the most cans wins, and brings out Seadra, while Ash starts off with his Squirtle. The first round ends in a draw, with Squirtle effortlessly taking down the cans in his first try. The next round begins, and this time Sissy increases the difficulty by introducing moving targets.
Not too bad. Next, we'll try moving targets.
This also ends in a draw as both Seadra and Squirtle hit the target simultaneously. So now we're on to the final showdown, and Sissy brings out her Blastoise and Ash chooses Lapras for a racing contest. But just as the race is about to begin, James, Jessie, and Meowth emerge from the water and capture Blastoise using Wheezing Smog as a distraction. However, this doesn't end well for Team Rocket, as Blastoise drags them to the surface and blasts them off with a hydro pump. Now, with the Rocket trio out of the way, they start their race, as Ash struggles to hold on as Blastoise bumps Lapras, causing him to lose control. This helps Sissy take the lead, but Ash is not the kind of guy to just give up. Right then, a massive wave rises right behind them, which Ash easily tackles with the help of Lapras' Ice Beam. However, the wave partially crashes over Sissy, which sends her flying, but Blastoise jumps to the rescue and quickly catches her. Seeing Sissy in the lead, Ash orders Lapras to grid an ice track to the finish line, which helps him take the lead and win the race. As Lapras stops at the finish line, it sends Ash flying into a nearby tree. Feeling impressed by his strategy, Sissy gives him the Coral Eye badge as a token of defeating the gym leader.
It was a great race, and it was pretty smart of you to use Lapras' Ice Beam to freeze the water.
The episode ends with the group riding on Lapras, with our hero sailing towards the next adventure after his first Orange Crew victory. Now, moving on to episode 13, Naval Maneuvers. We're introduced to a new character, Danny, who greets the trio and takes them to the Naval Island gym.
Hi! I bet you guys are looking for a gym battle. It's nice to meet you. I'm Danny.
And yeah, Misty has already fallen for Danny, much to Ash's dismay. When they arrive at the gym, the trio find out that the challenger must climb the mountain without using any Pokemon. Initially, Ash is pretty hesitant, but being the optimistic guy that he is, decides to take on the challenge. Despite having some close calls and almost bringing out Bulbasaur to help him out, he doesn't give up. As they take some time to rest, Team Rocket shows up and snatch Pikachu using a fishing rod. But Danny frees the electric mouse and throws a rock at the balloon, blasting them off again. The duo finally reach the summit, and Danny reveals that he is the gym leader of Naval Island. He explains that in order to win the badge, Ash must win at least 2 out of the 3 challenges.
Matches here are decided in 3 rounds, and if you can win 2 out of 3, you get this C Ruby badge.
He accepts it, and the first challenge is the test of Ice Beam accuracy. Ash brings out his Lapras, while Danny brings out his Nidoqueen. The first round ends with Danny winning, as Nidoqueen turned out to be faster than Lapras. The second round requires trainers to carve out a sled from an ice block, which they'll use to compete in the third round. So for this challenge, Ash picks Bulbasaur, Pikachu, and surprisingly Charizard, who simply refuses to obey Ash.
Not Charizard! That's right, Charizard! But Ash, Charizard never does a thing you ask it to!
While Danny's Pokemon start carving out, Ash struggles to bring Charizard under his control. But seeing Ash's constant nagging, he blasts the ice with a flamethrower, which turns it into a perfect sled. Now with the sleds ready, they start their final challenge and race down the snowy slope. However, Danny trips over a hole, and Ash knows who's behind it. The Rocket trio reveal themselves yet again, trapping Danny and Ash in a huge pit, and get hold of Pikachu again. But their happiness doesn't last long, as Danny and Ash start throwing snowballs at their balloon. Finally, Electroid is catapulted at the balloon, causing it to explode as Team Rocket blasts off yet again. Now, with Team Rocket out of the way, the race continues, as Ash still struggles to keep the sled under control. However, it looks like luck's on our boy's side, as he eventually overtakes Danny and wins the race. With the race done and dusted, Danny awards the C Ruby badge to Ash for winning the challenge. The episode ends with Ash and his gang waving goodbye to Danny, as Ash adds a second badge of his Orange League journey. The next episode, Snack Attack, kicks off with Ash, Misty, and Tracy making it to the 7 Grapefruit Islands, which is known for its juicy grapefruit. So when Ash tries to grab one, a girl named Ruby starts running towards them and accuses them of stealing.
You thought you could just sneak in here and steal all our grapefruit after we worked so hard to grow it?
After realizing that they're not thieves, she apologizes and spills some beans behind growing the perfect grapefruit. Right then, a worker runs towards them in panic and informs them that there's someone stealing the grapefruit, so they head to investigate, only to find the culprit to be none other than a Snorlax. Seeing this, Ash, Misty, and Tracy come up with a plan and start harvesting as many grapefruits before Snorlax can munch them down. But Snorlax is, well, he's quite fast, and when it comes to eating, he's an expert. He's devouring all their harvested fruits. Ash tries to stop it, but he fails. In the end, it eats all the grapefruits on the island, and Ruby's somewhat relieved as she believes that Snorlax can't go any further. But Snorlax pulls an Uno reverse card and swims to the next island. The trio heads to the island with Lapras' help, while Snorlax shows no sign of stopping anytime soon. On the second island, we see Team Rocket stealing the grapefruit to sell and making a ton of money.
We're going to turn them into cash when we sell them.
That's a great idea. Let's do some grapefruit grabbing!
But their plan gets foiled when Snorlax shows up and devours their stolen fruit. Not today, Rocket fellas. As Snorlax starts munching on the fruit, Ash and his gang plan on taking it down as the only way to stop its assault. But they fail badly as Squirtle, Staryu, Goldeen get knocked out by the giant Pokemon. So Misty brings out Psyduck, as she believes it's the perfect Pokemon to stop Snorlax. But all it could do is eat a grapefruit and nearly choke. Just, typical Psyduck stuff. As all their plans fail, they decide to call out their ultimate weapon, Jigglypuff, as their last hope to put Snorlax to sleep. So the gang sets the stage for Jigglypuff, and it happily sings a lullaby, putting everybody to sleep, including Snorlax. Now, with Snorlax unconscious, Ash throws a Pokeball, and finally captures it. After a good nap, Ash and his friends wake up, and Ruby thanks them for their help, giving them a present.
Thank you. If it weren't for all of your help, we wouldn't have a single grapefruit left.
The episode ends with a worker mentioning that new trees are growing everywhere, and she's optimistic that they'll have more grapefruits the next season. Moving on to the next episode, A Ship Full of Shivers. We see Ash, Misty, and Tracy riding on Lapras, with Ash admiring his badges as he only needs 2 more. They decide to stay at the Morrow Islands Pokemon Center, and Ash calls Professor Oak, who excitedly shares the recent finding of a 300-year-old Orange League Pokemon trophy in the Morrow Museum.
Divers have recovered what they claim is an Orange League Championship trophy dating back over 300 years.
Meanwhile, the Rocket Trio have already infiltrated the museum looking to swipe it. After a lot of struggle, they pull off the heist and escape with the trophy. The next day, Ash along with Tracy and Misty arrive at the museum only to find that the trophy's missing. Disappointed, the gang head out, and Ash nearly trips over James's legs, who has dozed off after their last heist. The Rocket Trio admit that they were the ones who stole the trophy, as they scramble into a paddle boat and board an old abandoned ship. But things soon take a spooky turn when they're greeted by a ghostly figure. Ash and his gang also find the massive ship and look around for Team Rocket. However, Misty's having this eerie feeling that somebody is watching them.
Don't you feel like we're being watched?
And accidentally drops Togepi into a hole. As the Rocket Trio wander around the ship, they end up meeting the ghostly figure who snatches the trophy from James. With the help of Meryl, Ash and his friends find Togepi and realize that the ghostly figures are none other than Haunter and Ghastly. They also spot the ancient trophy, which Ash tries to retrieve it, only to get blocked by the ghost Pokemon. Right then, Team Rocket swoop in and start attacking the ghost Pokemon to get their stolen trophy back. But the Haunter-Ghastly duo defeat the Rocket Trio and even take control of Meowth. After taking control, they introduce themselves and explain that they're guarding their master's trophy. The ghost duo reveal that their purpose is to safeguard the trophy and allow no one to remove it from the ship.
For centuries, we have guarded the Orange Island League Championship trophy you see there.
Hearing this, Ash and his gang accept that the trophy belongs on their master's ship. However, Team Rocket is not done, as they pounce to grab it. But as always, Pikachu delivers a Thunderbolt attack, blasting them off once again. The episode ends with Ash and his friends watching the ghost ship drift off into the night sky. Man, Haunter and Ghastly gotta be the coolest Pokemon. And Gengar is completely overrated, fight me. Episode 17, Tracy Gets Bugged, kicks off with Ash and his friends arriving on Murcott Island, which is filled with bug-type Pokemon. The trio start exploring the island and find a wounded Scyther struggling to hold itself up. Seeing this, Ash tries to capture it so they can take it to the Pokemon Center, but Scyther is not giving up, so Tracy jumps into action, and with the help of Venonat's sleep powder, catches the Pokemon. They rush to the nearby Pokemon Center, and Nurse Joy reveals that Tracy's Scyther lost the fight for leadership to a younger Scyther.
I guess the old warrior finally lost a battle for leadership of its swarm.
Meanwhile, Team Rocket's balloon crashes into the bug forest, and they find themselves surrounded by a bunch of Scyther, led by one with a scar across its face. They finally escape from the gang, and James notices Jessie's hair is missing, which pisses her off. Now, she wants his revenge as the Rocket Trio cook up a new plan to create a Scyther army. So the next day, they're back in the forest and watch the Scythers cleaning themselves in the lake. In the perfect moment, Meowth shoots a glue gun and captures the Scyther as Jessie taunts them for slicing her precious hair.
She's scary!
Back in the Pokemon Center, Tracy's Scyther feels something might be off and flies away to save his comrades. Ash and his gang closely follow it and find the Rocket Trio with the captured Scyther. Despite being hurt, Tracy's Scyther jumps in and fights toe-to-toe, but struggles to hold up. Seeing this, the younger Scyther jumps in and defends Tracy's Scyther. They team up and manage to slice through Team Rocket's Pokemon, and Pikachu wraps things up with a Thunderbolt. The leader Scyther and Tracy's Scyther shake their hands as a sign of a truce, and return back to Tracy, who's thrilled, and tries to do a pose, which you do after catching a Pokemon. But Ash, being Ash, can't help himself but to teach Tracy his iconic catching a Pokemon pose.
Tracy, let me show you how it's really done. one.
While Misty can't help, saying that Tracy is turning into a mini Ash. Moving on to this next great episode, Misty meets her match. We see Ash and his gang sailing toward the Trovita Island, as Misty wonders what kind of gym leader they'll meet. Right then, they come across a little girl, Mari, and her seal struggling in a whirlpool. Seeing this, Misty wastes no time and dives in with Staryu to save her. The girl's older brother, Rudy, who's watching from afar, is impressed by Misty.
She's great.
When they finally set foot on the island, he showers Misty with flowers and even dances with her. Rudy reveals that he's the island's gym leader, and Ash challenges him, but Rudy is still busy with Misty, and he decides to make things more interesting by giving Ash a preliminary test. After boarding a boat, Rudy challenges Ash to hit the moving targets using his Pokemon's attacks. With the help of Squirtle and Pikachu, Ash hits the targets and lands a full gym battle the next day. Later, Rudy invites Misty for dinner, which she gladly accepts. While having dinner, Mari tells Misty she'd like to have her as her elder sister.
Hey, I have an idea! Why don't you be my big sister and just stay here forever?
Even Rudy hints that she could stay with them and gives her a tour of his gym. Now, on the battle day, Ash picks Pikachu to fight against Rudy's Electabuzz for their first official round. However, Electabuzz is too strong for Pikachu, as it overpowers with a Thunder Punch. For the next round, Ash brings out Bulbasaur, while Rudy brings out his Executor, which dodges Bulbasaur's Razor Leaf gracefully. But the tables turn when Bulbasaur uses Sleep Powder to put Executor to sleep, winning the second round. And now for the final round. Ash decides to go with Squirtle to counter Rudy's Starmie. Initially, Rudy is on the winning side, as Starmie's Thunderbolt puts Squirtle at a disadvantage. The scene shifts to Misty, who's thinking about her conversation with Rudy, and decides to cheer for Ash instead of him. While Rudy is in disbelief, Squirtle pulls off a powerful Hydro Pump, knocking out the Starfish Pokemon. After winning the battle, Rudy presents Ash with the Spike Shell badge, and tells him that he's lucky to have Misty around.
I hope you know you're a very lucky guy, Ash.
Leaving him confused. The episode ends with Rudy and Mari giving them a warm farewell, as Ash and his gang sail off to their next adventure. Episode 25, Charizard Chills, starts off with Ash and his friends meeting this guy, Tad, who recognizes Ash from his victory over Rudy on Trovita Island. While on his boat, he tells Ash that he has heard a lot about him and wants to have a match.
I like to battle strong Pokemon trainers who know what they're doing. So Ash, why don't you and I have a match?
Now, on the island, Ash and Tad get ready for battle as Ash sends out Pikachu, while Tad brings out Poliwrath, which has a type disadvantage against electric-type Pokemon. Despite this, Tad actually trashes Ash's little electric mouse by first putting it to sleep, and finishes it with a water gun. However, Ash is not taking this insult lightly, and brings out his secret weapon, Charizard, who simply doesn't like to get bossed around. Tad points out that even though Charizard is very powerful, he won't make it into the Orange League with a Pokemon like that.
You'll never get into the Orange League using a Pokemon like that, Ash!
As Charizard simply ignores Ash's commands. Tad orders Poliwrath to spray water on Charizard's face, which makes it take the match seriously. Charizard starts with a flamethrower, which obviously has very little effect on Poliwrath. Despite Ash's request, Charizard keeps spamming the same attack as Tad finishes the battle off by freezing Charizard. Ash is terrified and rushes to free Charizard using a rock. Yep, a rock. This is our brilliant hero. Tad leaves, saying that he needs to control his Pokemon before he can face him again. As Charizard lies frozen, Ash does his best to heat it up. After a lot of warming up, Charizard's flame begins to grow stronger as it reminisces the days with Ash. The next day, he finally wakes up with a bright flame and a smirk on his face. Suddenly, the ground shakes, which even gets the attention of Tad, who rushes to check it out. The ones responsible? None other than Team Rocket, who have successfully trapped Pikachu in an electric-proof box. As they try to escape, Ash chases behind them, and Charizard offers Ash a ride as they charge into the tunnel to rescue Pikachu. Charizard manages to pull the Rocket Trio out, kicks the drill, and frees Pikachu from the box. But Team Rocket are not done yet, as a surprise buzzsaw knocks Ash and Pikachu out. Seeing this, Charizard activates his Rage attack and blasts Team Rocket into the sky.
Rage, one of Charizard's most powerful attacks. Rage attack usually has a devastating effect on its opponent.
With the Rocket Trio gone, Tad offers a rematch, which Ash gladly accepts. Both Ash and Charizard get ready to face Poliwrath the second time. The battle starts with Charizard dodging Poliwrath's water gun, followed by its Ice Beam. After some back and forth, the battle ends with Charizard pulling off its iconic move, Seismic Toss, which completely finishes it off. The episode ends with Ash hugging Charizard as Tad congratulates Ash, hoping they'll meet again in the Orange League. Moving on to the next episode, the Pokemon Water War, we find Ash, Misty, and Tracy arriving at a new city, and Ash's stomach grumbles like it does every 10 minutes or something. However, before they can pick a restaurant, they spot a building on fire. So we wasting no time, Misty and Ash bring out Staryu and Squirtle to put the fire down, but the flames are simply a bit too hot to handle, as they nearly get burned by falling debris. Right then, Captain Aiden, along with his War Turtle crew, jump into action and quickly bring down the fire.
You saved us back there. I don't know how to thank you.
They're the ones who deserve all the thanks.
Later, he takes Ash and his friends on a tour and explains how they use Pokemon based on their requirements, like Blastoises for big fire outbreaks, War Turtles for mid-sized fires, and finally Squirtles for really tough spots. However, Squirtle is a little bit bummed, as it couldn't contribute much in extinguishing the fire. Ash asks Captain Aiden for a challenge between Squirtle and War Turtle, to which he agrees. The first round is a marathon race, where Squirtle and War Turtle create a new record after Ash's Squirtle trips over a rock. Seeing this, Aiden invites Squirtle to train with his War Turtle crew, which is going very well, until the Rocket Trio steal the Fire Brigade and Pikachu. Now back in the hideout, Team Rocket starts arguing over which War Turtle they'll keep as a gift.
I should take one. I was the one who thought of digging that hole.
I should take one because I got down there and dug it.
While they're fighting, Squirtle and War Turtle hatch an escape plan and flood the shack using water gun. Meowth gets pissed and uses Scratch on the turtle Pokemon, which inadvertently frees them. Right then, Ash arrives with Tracy and Aiden and frees Pikachu, who zaps Team Rocket, blasting them off like always. Meanwhile, a new fire has erupted in the city, with Misty and Tracy's Pokemon trying their best to extinguish it. They find a child crying inside the burning building, and Ash steps in to save the kid, but Aiden stops him as it's just too dangerous. But in comes Squirtle, who along with War Turtle rescue the child and finally put the fire out.
It's Squirtle!
War Turtle!
The episode ends with Ash and his gang leaving the city, with Squirtle and War Turtle shaking their hands to celebrate their newfound friendship. Pokemon 26, Pokemon Double Trouble, starts off with the gang finally arriving at the Kumquat Island, with Ash pumped up, as it is his last gym battle to secure his spot in the Orange League Championship. However, Misty and Tracy have other ideas, as they're set on spending some quality time on the island. Right then, a woman named Luana hugs Ash, thinking that he's her son Travis.
Travis! You don't even remember your own mommy-wommy?
Ash clears up the confusion, and the lady gets emotional, as she explains how her son, along with his Pikachu, left to become a Pokemon master. Their emotional moment is cut short by Team Rocket, who show up in a Robo-Rhydon. Ash steps in to stop the Rocket Trio, pissing off Jessie, who orders Arbok to use Poison Sting. Seeing this, Luana brings out her Alakazam, who creates a psychic shield to protect Ash, revealing that she's the gym leader of Kumquat Island. She orders Alakazam to close the Robo-Rhydon's mouth, and Ash finishes it off with a Charizard's flamethrower. After the battle, she takes Ash and his friends to her fancy hotel, and tells Ash that they'll be having a double battle, which surprises him.
Why don't we make this a double Pokemon battle, and we'll each use 2 Pokemon at the same time?
On battle day, Luana picks Alakazam and Marowak, while Ash chooses his trusty companion, Pikachu and Charizard. However, Pikachu and Charizard struggle to cooperate, as they end up bickering with each other instead of attacking Luana's Pokemon. Luana points out that if Ash wants to win, he should have Pikachu and Charizard work together. As the battle continues, Marowak lands a couple of strong hits, and Alakazam nearly takes Charizard down. This upsets Pikachu, who helps Charizard out by zapping Alakazam and stopping it from using its psychic attack. However, Marowak pulls off a powerful body slam, which sends Pikachu flying into the air, but Charizard catches it by his wings, and the duo decide it's time to team up. They synchronize perfectly with each other, and take down Alakazam and Marowak in one swoop. And with that victory, Ash earns his final badge, the Jade Star Badge. The episode ends with Luana reminding Ash that he should keep working as a team, as she bids the gang adieu, telling them to let her son know that she dearly misses him.
Please, Ash, if you happen to run into my son Travis, will you tell him I miss him and give him my love?
As they wave goodbye, we see the Rocket Trio left moping as yet another of their brilliant plans goes up in smoke. Good luck next time, guys. In the Spore detour, we see Ash and Pikachu brimming with confidence as they're excited about the Orange League Championship. On the other side, Tracy's busy sketching a wild Vileplume when Ash and Pikachu show up. Unfortunately, Ash stumbles over a rock and accidentally falls into Vileplume's petals along with Tracy. Due to Vileplume's stun spore, they get paralyzed, and Pikachu dashes off to find Misty. She takes them to a nearby shack and looks for medicine in her bag, but all she finds are some good old bandages. Tracy tells her to check the Pokedex to find any hint on how to cure their condition. She learns that Salveo weed cures stun spore, which particularly grows near areas with Poliwag, a water-type Pokemon.
An effective sunspore antidote can be made by boiling the leaves of the Salveo weed.
Meanwhile, Team Rocket is dealing with their own stun spore problem as Jessie accidentally got caught in Vileplume's spores. James remembers his grandfather's remedy using Salveo weed to cure the condition, and the duo head out to find it. As Misty searches, she encounters a Poliwag, with James and Meowth right behind it. Misty steps in and a battle breaks out.
I think we can take her in a battle, don't you?
I do.
Give us that Poliwag now!
She brings out her Goldeen and Staryu, who quickly defeat Vitrible and Weezing. When Meowth joins the battle, Misty sends out Psyduck, who blasts them off using a powerful Psychic Blast. With the help of Poliwag, Misty gathers the necessary weed, which is enough to treat the whole village. On her way back, James and Meowth try to trick her by disguising themselves as a woman and child, claiming they need the weed for a similar cause. But Misty isn't buying it, and Poliwag attacks with a double slap. As James and Meowth wake up, they find a bundle of Sylvia weed and realize that Misty has left it to cure Jessie.
And after all we done to her, I must admit that little redhead is as good as gold.
Now back at the cabin, Misty boils the weed and gives it to Ash and Tracy. On the other side of things, Jessie is back to normal as well and decides to go after Pikachu once again. Surprisingly though, James and Meowth are actually a bit hesitant, as Misty was the one who helped them out. The scene then shifts to Arbok crashing inside the shack as Jessie's determined to capture Pikachu. But Pikachu quickly takes down Arbok, sending it flying towards Jessie, who gets paralyzed again. The episode ends with James and Meowth taking her away, as Ash and his friends set off on Lapras toward Pummelo Island. Episode 31, Hello Pummelo, kicks off with Ash, Misty, and Tracy getting closer to the Pummelo Island. Suddenly, they notice a mysterious figure flying and wonder what the creature is. After reaching the island, they head straight to the Orange League headquarters, and Ash undergoes checking of his badges. Meanwhile, Tracy notices a statue of Dragonite and starts sketching it. The official takes Ash and his gang to the Hall of Fame, which is filled with the previous champions' names. He also confirms that the statue is the legendary Pokemon Dragonite, which belongs to the Orange League champion Drake.
Oh, that's a Dragonite, the legendary Pokemon that guards this island.
He explains that Orange League battles are kinda special, which really tests both the trainers and their Pokemon in a 6-on-6 match. This takes Ash by surprise, as he's left perplexed with what Pokemon he should use for his battle against Drake. He decides to go with Snorlax as one of his Pokemon, only to find out that Snorlax is not waking up anytime soon.
Unless there's danger, it won't wake up until it's hungry again, and that could take days.
So with no other option, Ash has to go choose a Pokemon that he's not used before. After a lot of thinking, he decides to go with Tauros, hoping for a bit of beginner's luck. So we're now on the battle day. It all begins with Ash and Drake having a traditional handshake, as Drake welcomes his challenger to the Pummelo gym. The referee goes over the rules, and explains that if either of the trainers lose 3 Pokemon, the battlefield will change.
When 3 of one trainer's Pokemon are unable to battle, there'll be a field change.
He also adds Drake can't swap out his Pokemon, while Ash has the liberty to do so. The first round starts with Drake bringing out Ditto to counter Ash's Pikachu. Ditto quickly transforms into Pikachu, and they both mirror each other's moves. Initially, Ditto has the upper hand, as it strikes Ash's Pikachu very badly, but Pikachu bounces back by showing who the real boss is. Now for the second round, Drake sends out Onix, while Ash recalls Pikachu and sends out Squirtle, which is a good move as water types have an advantage over ground type Pokemon. But Drake's got his own God's plan, like Drake the singer, as he orders Onix to dodge Squirtle's attack by digging underground. As Squirtle struggles to find the rock snake Pokemon, Onix reemerges and strikes Squirtle, eventually binding it. However, Squirtle's not letting this slide and cleverly hides in his shell to avoid the hit. As Drake rejoices, Squirtle surprises Onix with a powerful Hydro Pump, followed by a Skull Bash knocking it out. With 2 of his Pokemon gone, Drake sends out Gengar, while Ash decides to go with Tauros. Ash's Tauros begins the round with Fissure, which Gengar easily dodges. Drake orders Gengar to use Confuse Ray, which causes Tauros to run wildly. Ash quickly swaps and brings out Lapras, which dodges Gengar's Hypnosis by diving underwater. Followed by that, it fires a strong Ice Beam to counter Gengar's Nightshade attack. As the 2 powerful attacks collide, the episode ends with a huge explosion, as both trainers wait to see whose Pokemon is still standing. The referee announces that Gengar and Lapras can no longer battle. Now with 3 of Drake's Pokemon defeated, the battlefield shifts to sandy terrain. Drake brings out his Venusaur, while Ash counters with Tauros. He starts off the battle with Fissure, which has no effect as the sandy terrain absorbs the move.
The sandy surface sucked up the shock and Ketchum's got himself one stun steam.
Drake's Venusaur charges up for Solar Beam, and Ash orders his Tauros to close in with Takedown Attack. Still, Venusaur fires the Solar Beam, which Tauros ducks easily, and lands another takedown, finishing it off. Following Venusaur's defeat, Drake sends out his Electabuzz as his penultimate Pokemon. Ash switches Tauros out for Bulbasaur, hoping that Bulba's grass type might give him an edge. However, Electabuzz easily defeats his Bulbasaur by first paralyzing it, followed by a Thunder Punch. Seeing Electabuzz's raw strength, Ash calls in Charizard to turn the tide in his favor. And oh boy was he right. Charizard starts off with a Flamethrower, which Electabuzz dodges and counters with a Thunder Punch, hitting it very hard. Despite that, Charizard shakes it off and pulls off Seismic Toss, defeating Electabuzz and leaving Drake with only 1 Pokemon left. He clutches his pendant and brings out Dragonite, calling him the final hope.
My last hope.
The battle starts with Charizard's flamethrower, which Dragonite counters with water gun. They take to the sky, dodging each other's attacks with speed and agility. However, Dragonite's Ice Beam attack hits Charizard, knocking him down. But this isn't enough to take the big fiery lizard down as he manages to get back up. He tries to pull off Seismic Toss again, from which Dragonite breaks free and slams it to the ground. But still, Charizard isn't giving up and attacks with Dragon Rage, creating a huge explosion. As the dust settles, Charizard falls as Dragonite is declared the winner of the round. Followed by that, Ash brings out Squirtle, who doesn't last longer either. Right then, the Rocket Trio show up and capture the legendary dragon. But Drake is having none of it and orders Dragonite to take care of them. The battle continues and Ash sends Tauros, who charges at Dragonite with his takedown attack. In response, Dragonite attacks with Body Slam, which doesn't cause much damage as the sand absorbs most of the impact. This helps Tauros throw Dragonite off balance. But Dragonite's Thunder attack is enough to take Tauros down. With 5 of his Pokemon defeated, Ash calls on Pikachu, hoping for a miracle. The battle starts with Pikachu using agility, but Dragonite quickly counters by blocking it with his tail. As Dragonite prepares for his most devastating attack, Hyper Beam, Pikachu springs off his tail, avoiding the beam, and lands directly on Dragonite's head. By now, Dragonite is extremely exhausted and can't even shake Pikachu off.
Try as it may, the exhausted Dragonite can't shake Pikachu!
Ash orders Pikachu to use the Thunder attack, which lights up the entire stadium. Both Pokemon are exhausted, but it is Dragonite who collapses as it's too weak to continue. With Dragonite unable to battle, the referee declares Ash the winner of the Orange League Championship. Pikachu falls into Ash's arms as Ash thanks him for winning. The episode ends with Drake presenting him the championship trophy and Ash securing his rightful place in the Orange League's Hall of Fame.
You really deserve that trophy. You're a great Pokemon trainer.
Episode number 33. Viva Las Lapras starts off with Ash looking at his Orange League trophy with joy, as Misty teases him, asking whether he's planning to stare at it all day. Right then, Lapras starts to behave strangely after spotting a school of Lapras. Seeing this, Tracy realizes that this must be its family, and Ash remembers the day that he found it. As they approach the Lapras group, the school ignores Ash's Lapras even as it tries to get their attention. This leaves Ash and the gang confused, and Ash calls out demanding to know why they're leaving. But all they get is a warning to not follow, followed by a mist attack which obscures their path as the school swims away. Ash and his gang head to the nearby Pokemon Center and contact Professor Oak. He suggests that the wild Lapras might be scared of humans.
But I suspect those Lapras were reacting that way because they're afraid of humans.
But Officer Jenny chimes in, saying that there have recently been some pirates capturing and selling the Pokemon. The scene then shifts to a pirate ship, where Captain Crook and his assistant spot the Lapras group. With the help of Tentacruel, they surround the Lapras and use Poison Sting to weaken them. But the Lapras counterattack with Water Gun and escape. Meanwhile, Ash and his friends spot the pirates as their tentacruels close in again. While Tracy goes to get help, Pikachu unleashes a powerful Thunder Shock, which affects everybody, including Lapras and the Tentacruel gang. The Tentacruel turn their attention towards Ash, Misty, and Lapras, forcing them to make a run for it. Seeing Ash's Lapras in danger, the Lapras school finally joins in and shoots a series of ice beams, freezing the Tentacruel.
You sure do have a nice mom.
Right then, a lighter-colored Lapras comes forward and reveals herself as Ash's Lapras' mother. Ash watches the reunion happily, and Jenny thanks him and his friends for capturing the pirates. And yeah, they got Team Rocket too for some outstanding charges against them. While the Rocket Trio grumble about their unfair arrest, Ash and Lapras share one final moment as they know that it's time to part ways. Lapras licks Ash affectionately as we get a montage of their adventure together. The episode comes to an end with Lapras bidding adieu to Ash, reuniting with the Lapras school with one joyful leap. Moving on to episode 34, the Underground Roundup. Ash and his gang find themselves on Hamlin Island as they prepare to take a ferry back to Pallet Town. However, as they're about to cross, a huge explosion rocks the bridge, forcing them to take a small boat to reach the town. They find it completely deserted
It's like a ghost town.
and enter a building where Ash spots a ferry. However, he's unable to open the door, and Misty realizes that Togepi is missing again. They find Togepi with the Voltorb, and Ash learns that Voltorb can explode pretty unexpectedly.
Use extreme caution. Voltorb may explode without warning.
As Misty tries to take Togepi back, they get surrounded by a group of Electrode, which start exploding one after the other. Right then, a man with a black hat appears and relocates the Electrode with the help of his Diglett. He introduces himself as Poncho and explains why the island is full of Voltorb and Electrode. He has also revealed that he's been hired by the mayor to relocate them safely. However, right after he says that, he gets a call from the mayor telling him that he's fired and he's hired somebody else for the job. Well, that was quick. Suddenly, they hear a huge noise and head outside only to find that that someone is none other than Team Rocket. However, Ash isn't buying it, but Poncho confirms that the contract is the real deal.
It's no trick. That work order they're waving's got the mayor's seal on it.
The Rocket Trio start their operation and capture the Electrode by making them explode, draining away their energy. Seeing this, Poncho, Ash, and his friends are horrified, but since they're under the mayor's contract, they're unable to intervene. In retaliation to their onslaught, the Electrodes group together and surround the Rocket Trio, with Voltorb taking the lead. Pikachu also joins in, but Team Rocket's vehicle is electric-proof. As their attacks fail, Poncho orders his Doug Trio to dig a huge hole that causes Team Rocket's vehicle to fall in.
It feels like we're headed for
a fall!
Now with the Rocket Trio out of the way, Poncho orders Diglett to get into the action. They start relocating the Electrode to an open field far away from the city. However, Togepi's upset about leaving Voltorb behind as she wants to play with it. They share a bittersweet farewell, as Misty explains that even friends have to say goodbye sometimes. The next day, the people return to the bustling city as Hamlin Island is back to how it used to be. The episode ends with Ash and his friends waving goodbye to Poncho as they head to Ash's hometown. With only a few miles until Pallet Town, Ash finds himself super excited to be returning home. Even Tracy can't contain his excitement as he wants to show his sketches to his idol, Professor Oak. When Ash finally opens the door, he's surprised to find Brock, who was supposed to be back on Valencia Island.
What do you mean, how you doing? What are you doing here?
Brock introduces himself to Tracy and serves everyone with a special tea. However, his surprise return leaves everybody curious, and the gang asks why he left Professor Ivy behind. Hearing Ivy's name, Brock gets super depressed and asked everybody not to mention it again. Right then, Delia arrives and explains how she found Brock along with Mimey. As she finishes her story, Ash shows his Orange League trophy, expecting that his mom would be happy, but instead she uses it as a dumbbell, dejecting Ash. Poor Ash. Later, the group heads off to Oak's lab with Tracy over the moon to show his work. They find Oak buried under muck, who greets Ash in his usual fashion. Finally, Ash hands over the GS ball and Oak is thrilled, promising to start studying it right away. He takes them on a tour of his lab, showing off the Pokemon in the park.
What's that?
Kingler, how's it going, old buddy?
Tracy compliments Ash after seeing his herd of Tauros and starts sketching it, which catches Oak's interest. Tracy suggests to Professor Oak that he should have a look at his work. While Oak and Brock talk about Tracy's sketches, the Rocket Trio trap the lab in a circus tent. They appear dressed as a bunch of clowns, which they are, and taunt Brock for leaving Ivy.
I thought you were staying back on Valencia Island with that Professor Ivy.
Don't mention that name!
They send out Lickitung and Victreebel, which Muck takes down very easily. However, Victreebel's sleep powder knocks Muck out, and the Rocket Trio use some special rings to stop Ash and the others from moving. Using a huge vacuum, they steal Oak's Pokeballs and Tracy's sketches, including the GS ball. But suddenly, the tent rips open and a mysterious figure appears. It's Oak's grandson and Ash's rival, Gary. He effortlessly blasts them off with the help of Nidoqueen, freeing Grandpa Oak and the rest. Seeing Gary's arrival, Ash challenges Gary for a battle, to which he gladly agrees, as the episode ends with a cliffhanger with both rivals locking eyes, ready to face off. And now for the final episode of Season 2, the Rivalry Revival. We continue with where we left off as Ash challenges Gary for a battle. Gary brings out his Eevee while Ash sends out Pikachu, as he boasts about winning the Orange League Championship. However, Gary is unimpressed, and he dismisses it, frustrating Ash. The battle begins with Pikachu's Quick Attack, which Eevee counters with Reflect. Following that, Pikachu uses the Thunderbolt attack, but Eevee evades it by using Double Team. After realizing it's of no use, Ash calls off the attack, which Gary uses as an opening and orders Eevee to use Quick Attack again. Fortunately, Pikachu escapes, but even still, Eevee's Skull Bash knocks the Electric Mouse out of the battle. Gary is declared the winner, and heads out with Ash vowing to win next time.
You did a great job, Ash.
Next time it's gonna be different!
Later, while he's staring at the sky, Misty approaches and mentions Gary's on a new journey. Surprised, he meets up with Professor Oak, who reveals that Gary is planning to challenge the Johto League.
I gotta do that too, but then I have to battle with the best, so I'm gonna try for this Johto League.
He also gives Ash the GS ball back and tells him to take it to his old friend Kurt, a Pokeball specialist. During their farewell party, Oak hands Ash a new Pokedex, and Tracy announces that he's going to be Professor Oak's assistant. While they're having dinner, Jesse and James, dressed as reporters, show up and trap Pikachu in a camera box. As they try to escape, Mimey uses the barrier attack to stop them, and Scyther frees Pikachu by slashing through the box. And just like always, Pikachu finishes it off with Thunderbolt, sending them blasting off once again. The next day, Ash, Misty, and Brock get ready for their trip to Johto region. Before they leave, Ash asks Tracy to visit his mom once in a while, and Oak reminds Ash about delivering the GS ball. As the trio bid adieu, Delia offers a warm farewell as Ash and his gang set off towards their next adventure. And with that, Season 2 comes to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed the Orange Islands adventures. If you did, drop a like and make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any future videos. If you haven't watched our previous recap of Season 1, feel free to check it out. That's it for today, folks. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. See ya!